The news, the mainstream media seem to have lost its trust to people like maybe me, maybe you, maybe Asmongold, maybe other people of the sort on YouTube. More and more people would rather listen to a YouTuber sitting in a bedroom rather than a professional journalist sitting inside a television studio. And that generally, on the surface of it, sounds mental and ridiculous. One person may have no editor, no formal training, and no research team, but millions and millions of viewers still trust them far more than they would the news. So, how did this traditional media lose that trust? Why did YouTubers inherit it? I think polished stopped feeling honest. When something is overly polished, it just somehow doesn't feel as genuine as a person sitting in a room talking directly into camera about their thoughts and feelings and opinions on a particular subject. Polished language, perfect studios, and control interviews can feel distant and corporate and just basically out of touch with reality. A YouTuber can look rough, hesitate, change their mind, and somehow feel more believable. I think familiarity creates trust. Viewers can spend hundreds of hours listening to the same creator. Every day they could tune into a particular person, a particular streamer, a particular YouTuber, and they learn their humor, flaws, human behavior, thought processes. And that familiarity feels like actually knowing a person. People often trust the voice they recognize, not necessarily the source with the strongest evidence. And that matters. YouTubers explain how they actually think. Traditional news often give you the final statement, the final verdict, and the final, the cut and dry piece of information. A good creator talks through reasoning, questioning, and uncertainty. That makes the audience feel much more included rather than just spoken down to. And I think this is a big thing in the real world today. When you're watching the news, for example, you're just told to think. This is the right way to think. This is the right thing to think. And if it's anything other than that, it's wrong think. And we have thought police because of it. It's absolutely insane. So I think people are going to generally resonate with a YouTuber, especially a level-headed, reasonable, and able to reason YouTuber than they are some guy in a suit on a TV somewhere in a studio. That's just my professional opinion. I think authenticity, though, isn't accuracy. A creator sounding genuine does not make them correct. So there is a distinction to make there. Personality can become a substitute of evidence, and viewers can defend a creator because they simply like them, they like the person, they like what they stand for, not because the argument actually holds up. And there is a problem in that too. I think the real answer is that people simply don't want news. They want information, they want interpretation from someone whose judgment they actually understand and whose judgment they actually value. Traditional outlets lost part of that connection, and creators on YouTube and other media platforms alike have essentially filled that gap. I don't think the future is traditional news completely disappearing off the map, but I do think that the winners will be the people who combine the evidence with the voice that feels human. Viewers no longer want to be told what happened by a faceless institution, a faceless machine, something which seems to have an agenda behind it. They want somebody they recognize to help them understand what it means, to help someone to basically feel like they're in a room with somebody, a level headed, reasonable person who's just explaining and interpreting the information along with you. This is Jake O'Neill Talks, honest commentary on modern life.